Another week, another new exciting addition to the New Zealand EV SUV fleet, this time the Leapmotor B10. So the B10, it is the little brother, but a bit more technologically advanced, a bit more ahead of the curve than the C10 that we've already seen launched here. And it's coming in two models, starting from $44,990 for the Life model. I've got to read it, it's so new. And the Design for $49,990. But at the start, at launch, they've chopped $2,000 off the price of both those, which means you can have one of these from $42,990. Right, so now we are behind the wheel of the Leapmotor B10 at a gas station, which is something this place should never really be, unless there's a charger over the side, which oddly there is here, but I blame a certain other EV YouTuber who may have parked it here. Right, anyway, inside, this has familiar little bits that we may have seen on the C10 before, but to be honest, it does feel a little bit better screwed together, just a little more modern materials. And that's not unexpected because, you know, Leapmotor is growing at such a rapid rate, and every month I'm taking a wild guess that they are learning more. You know, the C10 I thought was a pretty impressive vehicle, and this kind of takes that just a little bit further. I'm going to make a bit of an angled turn out of here. Right, so we're out of there now. But you know, really nicely screwed together. I love this detail through the dashboard, these holes here. Plastics. The plastics are hard, but not too bad. There is soft touch at the top, a little soft touch on the door, but yeah, nice finishes, really nice build. Now, it's got almost a little bit of a weird format, I feel, in this car, and this may just me being crazy, which is not unusual, but it feels a lot like they've taken the C10 and cut it off. So you've got a large car cabin, a larger size car cabin in the front row and in the second row, but the boot is just a little bit truncated. Now the boot's not small, it's still 430 litres in size, 1600 litres when you fold the seats down, a little bit of storage underneath. But it means that in the front, you're kind of upright, you're in this bigger space, a bit closer to the steering wheel than I potentially would have liked. But yeah, it feels quite large in the front for a car in this class. Bigger, I would argue, than the Atto 3, which is going to be kind of key competition for this. Very similar, I think, in format and size to the Geely EX5. So big cabin, shorter overhangs, and I think that's a format that works really, really well. And the editor will cut this in now, because I forgot to say it earlier, but it does have a frunk. It's 25 litres, and there's not a lot of finishing around the frunk either, though I understood from a Leapmotor staff member that maybe that is coming. This car is sort of car, so hopefully we'll see some more finishing, but good at least to have a frunk. It's not massive, but enough for your charging cable and all that, though there is space also under the back for your charging cables there, so maybe you can use it for your dirty shoes or something. Now on the front here we have a screen in front of the driver with a nice little animated graphic of the road ahead. This does have level 2 autonomy features. I'm not sure we need to test them particularly well today. Let's push a button and see if we can. Oh, there we go. We're in. No, we're not in that mode. How do you turn it on? I don't know. We're not going to. This does have level 2 autonomy features. We're not going to be able to try those today. But I will say it's not beeping and bonging quite as ruthlessly as the C10 did. So we have that screen there running that. We've got some efficiency data there. It's showing 15.3 kilowatt hours for a bunch of motoring riders driving around town. The car is rated at about 17 for both models, and that is on the higher side for a vehicle this size, but we are finding the Chinese stuff, particularly with a heavy LFP battery underneath, doesn't tend to be quite as sharp as some of the Hyundai product, Kia product. Some of that's down to software, some of that's down to the weight of those batteries. In the middle here, we have a 14.5-inch screen. It runs a really late model Snapdragon processor for those nerds of you, which is most of my audience out there watching, which means it is nice and snappy, refreshes really well. It's got lots of features and stuff in here. TikTok even. I don't know if I dare touch that. We're being followed now. Music streaming built in, 360-degree cameras. It's telling me to focus on my driving, which is really hard to do when you're trying to film a video. Quite a complex screen there. We'll go into it in more detail in the future when we get a chance to drive the car very soon. I think I've got it in about 2 weeks' time. The seats very comfortable. They do feel nice and big for a large guy like myself. On the upper model, the design model, electrically adjusted, which is handy on the front, both sides of the front, heated and cooled in the front, not in the rear, no heating in the rear, but you do get air conditioning vents in the back. You get USB-C and A in the front and the rear as well for charging, a wireless charger up here for your phone. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is coming as standard for this car, but it came on the display with an asterisk, which means it's not actually technically arriving until December, though I suspect not many people are actually going to be getting their cars by that time. So you could argue that it is coming with the car itself. Now, they did there was some unclarity when the C10 was really launched that would have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It ended up it was never going to come to that car. It's a hardware issue, but they have promised this time we will get it. The other thing for your phone, it does have an app that can be used for everything right through to a Bluetooth key, controlling the climate control system, preheating the battery even to make your cold winter journeys even more efficient, scheduling, all the usual stuff you expect from an app, with the limit of being not necessarily proximity key like you would get with a Tesla. But I'm finding with BYD that the whole Bluetooth key thing works pretty darn well. Now, drivetrain. This is rear-wheel drive, and this is a bit of a shift we're seeing now. The MG5 SEV is also rear-wheel drive. There's a 160 kilowatt and 240 Newton meter motor out the back. That doesn't sound like a lot, particularly that torque figure. That torque figure seems low. The car does 0 to 100 in 8 seconds, but the way they've set it up, it gets away fine. This thing is gonna, I think, feel perfectly adequate around town. Maybe I would like a little more torque for open road overtaking, but I think it's sufficient. The ride around town feels really good so far. The steering, light. It's impossible for me to pass judgment on how the car drives at this point. Again, we'll leave that for the later test. But as far as 90% of people's use goes, that running around town aspect, this feels really good. And arguably, I think it feels a little bit nicer around town in my very, very short test than Atto and EX5. But as I said, we'll find that out properly when we get it for a longer test. Now, I have spent some time in the back seat, and if you go and watch Gavin Shoebridge's Ecotricity video, you may find me hiding out back there, although hopefully I'm pretty well hidden. It's him laughing.
Sorry.
And it is actually a really comfortable back seat. Again, if we look back to the market, I'm going to put it between the Atto 3 and the EX5 for back seats, the EX5 having the biggest back seat. It's comfortable, typical electric vehicle flat load floor. I do like the glass roof. Big, wide, broad glass roof. It doesn't open, but I'm not sure that's entirely necessary. There is a blind. There is an electric blind, so that is good for those of you who don't like getting too much sun. Now, you've got 2 battery options with the Leapmotor B10. B is kind of their size, and 10 is for SUV. So there's a B05 coming, so just watch space for that. So you get 2 options of battery with this, both LFP, 56 kilowatts or 67 kilowatts, 340-ish or 430-ish kilometers of WLTP range from those. So they're not the biggest range cars, that 17 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometer range efficiency point. They're not massively efficient, but it's enough for around town. I said I'm kind of excited to see what it's like on the open road again, saying it again, pushing that out to the long test. Now, the interesting thing about the future of this vehicle and the C10 as well is that going to the platform 3.5 system now, that system is 800 volt capable. So we could see some 800 volt options from them in the future. Though, interestingly, whether we really need 800 volt and the advantages that brings to the car around charging, that kind of stuff, is a bit of a funny point with this, because as far as smaller capacity LFP battery Chinese cars go, this is kind of the new standard when it comes to charging. This one here, the design with the bigger battery, 160 kilowatt charging, the smaller battery 140 kilowatt. So both those, they quote 30% to 80%, which is again a funny measure, in 18 minutes. So we'll find out what the actual charge curve is like, but that really is the new standard when it comes to charging a small value Chinese electric SUV. Right, so the Leapmotor B10 so far, I'm really impressed, but I can't tell completely until I've driven it properly. We'll do that in a couple of weeks, so don't forget, like, subscribe, and stay tuned.